honored to continue to be competing with our group, and we're going against a really, really tough, well-coached team tomorrow. Very dynamic in their backcourt. Tanner and Miles are unbelievably quick with the basketball. Both shoot it at a very high level. Nickel is just a flat-out laser, and their bigs all play their roles to perfection with their ability to pop and knock down shots and play with great physicality as well. Playing another top 10 offensive team and a very disciplined defensive team as well. So Mark's done a terrific job with this group, and both of us got off to very similar starts. I think they were 16-0 before their first loss, and it's a team that is playing with great rhythm right now. You look at their game against Florida in the SEC tournament a week ago, and beat them by 20 plus. So that tells you all you need to know about this team, and I was really impressed with their performance yesterday as well.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open it up for questions. We'll start. Let's go to the right here, and then we'll start on the left, and then we'll go to the right. How about that? Go ahead.
Yeah, Coach. When you are coaching a team that starts 20-0, now that you've been through it, how does that change expectations, internal and external? How does that affect the fact that you're not facing adversity until later in the year, similar to what Vandy did?
I don't really think it affected anything. It certainly didn't affect our approach. I knew pretty early on in the process, and I've talked a lot about the key week to me was the Creighton week, where we played them and had 2 days of preparation to play Wisconsin, which is our first Big Ten game, and you have to get over the emotions of beating your rival very quickly. We had 2 days to prepare for that Wisconsin team, took care of business at home. And then we got over that one quickly as well and moved on to our first true road game, which was Illinois, and arguably our best win of the season, certainly our best road win. And that showed me that our guys were able to move on to the next assignment, which obviously at this time of year, if you're fortunate enough to advance, you have to get over it quickly or you're going to get stung and you're going to get sent home. And our guys have done a good job. We had a film session last night with Vandy, had a first look, talked a lot about their personnel, and just finished an hour and a half on the court putting in our game plan. And we get an opportunity with a later start tomorrow to get one more time on the floor with a shoot around. I think at 1 o'clock is when our time slot is, and we have to take advantage of that. We'll have more film tonight, which Vandy's got I'm sure doing the same thing with their preparation for us. But we really have to be on point with this. Again, if we're not ready to go, it's not going to be pretty out there. They're that good. They're that talented. So, again, our guys, I guess to answer your question, have answered the bell. After really big emotional wins and also after tough losses. This one was emotional for all of us yesterday. Finally getting that first win in the tournament in the history of the program. So But I'll say this, our guys were locked in the film session last night. So were they excited? Should they have been excited? Absolutely. And I told them, enjoy it. Enjoy this ride that we're going through right now. And, it's been a special team. They've developed unbelievable chemistry. And just to see the joy in their faces and to be able to share it with the crowd and share it with Kent, that was awesome when our guys went over. And, all rallied around Kent. I saw him last night. He still kind of had that that look in his eye. So it's been fun, but again, our guys have gotten over it, and we're ready to move on to the next one.
Go here on the second row, and then back over.
Robin Washut with Husker Online. Fred, what do you think, looking back on the Troy game, led to such an uptick in your defensive activity, forcing the turnovers, and on the other side, taking such better care of the basketball with only 6 turnovers?
Yeah, it was. Listen, give Troy credit for the way they came out of the gate. They were hitting shots, but at the same time, they were tough shots. And, we just said stick with it, stick with the plan, keep contesting. Let's have more activity with our hands, create deflections. And that's what I was really impressed with our guys. And I looked at, Sam's been great all year with his deflections. Kale has been great all year. Burke has been great all year. But when I saw Rink last night, he had 6 deflections in that game. Those were huge for us. And I thought Rink had control of that thing last night as well with 7 assists and just how comfortable he looked in our flow. We were 1.39 points per possession before that game went analytically final last night. That was our 4th best offensive performance of the season. Offensive rebounds was a key in that game. We were 2.33 points per possession on offensive rebounds. That's huge to be able to get those and not forcing it inside over length. We're going to have to do a good job of that tomorrow with the way Vanderbilt plays, but we were spraying it out and got it to the right guys. I thought our attention to detail in the game plan was exactly where it needed to be. I talked about our focus. It was where we need it. And again, with today, with our film session tonight, with our shoot around tomorrow, we're going to have it again. When you have a one-day prep like this, your focus has to be extra. And, we've done that to this point.
Third row.
Fred, I know the personnel has changed, but I'm thinking
What's your name and who are you with?
Andy Katz with, this week I'm with TNT.
Okay.
Talk to me next week. Look, I know the personnel has changed, but I'm thinking about the culture, the staff. Obviously, your son was there. What last year was like when that 3-week period, waiting to play in the Crown, don't make the Big Ten tournament, all this is going on, and you guys are back in Lincoln practicing, not knowing what you're going to do in Vegas. Just like, what was that period like, and how much do you think it is overall carried over?
Yeah, it was a very important couple weeks for our team. I give Bryce Williams a lot of credit. He was the one that talked to the team and said, guys, we're playing in this thing, and we're all going to do it. And you had players opting out at that time. I think us and Boise were the two teams playing in that event that kept our teams intact. And the biggest thing to me out of that tournament, obviously you win it, you cut down the nets, that stuff's awesome. The way that Cale Jacobson played on those last couple weeks was so important for his future. He was as important as anybody on the court for us in that 4-game championship run that we made in that tournament. So, people, listen, there's a lot of questions going into it. Media makes, different remarks about what are they doing? What's this event? It was a really cool event. It was unbelievably well run. Fox did an incredible job with that event. Accommodations first class, the meals, the venues that you play in. I'm telling you, the teams that are playing it this year are going to be impressed with it, and it's going to help them going into the offseason. It did with us. We were able to, at the time, they changed the rules, thankfully, because, we had to go into the portal, and we got 4 players signed by Zoom when we were out playing in that event. And it was great for us. It gave us some momentum going into it after a very disappointing finish where we lost 5 in a row to finish off the season. So that was great for us for multiple reasons. And, again, you don't get a chance to cut down nets very often. So for us, it was a really cool and special event. And again, the guys that got the opportunity to play that are helping us this year in a huge way, that was as important as anything.
We'll go Sean and then up here in the middle.
Coach Sean Callahan, Husker Online. Obviously, you're moving on to Vanderbilt, but last night was pretty special with the first win. Give us an idea how many people you heard from and who were some of the more notable people that maybe reached out to you with a call or a text just to congratulate you guys on the win.
Yeah, the really cool thing to me, obviously I heard from all of my family and a lot of them are here, but hearing from my family. But I think the thing that was really special is all the former players that I heard from Ty Lue to Rich King to Bo Reed, just down the line, from players that played for me with, Bryce, sent me a really nice message. Just a lot of the former players that played for us. So, to hear back from them and, listen, there was countless others. And, that's the thing. We had an all-time attendance, set with our alumni weekend. There was, a record number of players that came back for that. Henry T. Buchanan, who's been unbelievable since day one with his support of our program. And, Bernard Day, I could go on, but I won't bore you with all that. But, the former players were the ones I thought that was really cool to hear from. Former coaches, Tim Miles, Doc Sadler, that texted me that were the heads of this program. It was just, it was cool. I wasn't able to get back to everybody. I will. We obviously got a lot ahead of us, and I talked to the players about keeping our walls up, but we all do. And, we got a big assignment ahead on a short amount of time to prepare, so, we'll get back to all that. But, yeah, to hear from them and boosters, people that have helped us, in this crazy time that we're living in right now, so it's fun. And people that said, listen, I haven't cried over a sporting event maybe in my life until you guys won that game. So that meant a lot to a lot of people. So, it was great to hear from them and share this experience with them.
Let's go front row middle, and then we'll go to the back left.
Mike Sauter, Herd Out Sports. Coach, what's been this team's superpower? Is it the ability to move on to the next thing after a win or loss? Or is it the connectivity or something else?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a superpower, Mike. This team has been very connected. I will say that, and I've talked about this team a lot about how limited our distractions have been this year. Being on time for morning practices. I think one time we had a player that overslept. He got there 15 minutes late for a film session. No off-court distractions. Third straight semester with over a 3-point GPA. All those things matter, in my opinion. The way that they've built off the court chemistry, I think, has translated and helped us on the court. They've just done all the little things really well. And to me, it makes our job as coaches a lot easier when you have a group that does all those things. They hold each other accountable. I've got great leadership with this group, as good as any that I've coached. But, even yesterday in the huddle, there was one huddle, and these are long timeouts, man. You're sitting there, it seems like, for 5 minutes. And I just let the players talk for one of those timeouts. I said very little when I got in there, and those guys were talking and, trying to create solutions for what was going on the floor. And I love that stuff, man. And, I can't remember who it was, came up to me and said, "Coach, what do you think about this play?" I said, "Hell yeah, run it. Let's do it." And we did it, and we scored on it. So, they see it. The players on the court, I've had some really good coaches. Kevin McHale was that way. Larry Bird was that way. If you played for him and, you had a play, they just let you go with it. And our guys, some of them have the ability to do that.
We go back left, then we have Murray, and then to the middle.
Yeah, Tom Chattel, Omaha World Herald. Fred, you've seen a reaction around the state all year to this team. It's been unbelievable. The reaction yesterday, obviously, was off the charts. You've had a lot of national attention this season. What is a win in the tournament going to do for this program? What are the possibilities?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tom. When I saw our players going around chanting "Go Big Red" with the fans, I thought that was really, really cool. And I talked about this last night after the game. That environment, I've never seen anything like that ever. And it's going to be like that, I think, again tomorrow night. And it's fun to be able to share an experience like this when you have a first, like we did. That's that important. And we don't have to hear that narrative anymore about Nebraska basketball being the only power school to never win one of these games. So, that's great. What it does to help us moving forward, I don't know, Tom. We live in a weird world right now with NIL and all those different things in the portal that we deal with, but it doesn't hurt. And, I think the system and the style that we play, if you're a skilled big, it's a great system for you. It's a great, if you can shoot the basketball. You see what Price is doing in our system this year, and Braden, and, multi-skilled players. So, yeah, when everything opens up and we try to reconstruct the roster, we'll talk a lot about this, and we'll have edits and be able to show potential recruits on what it looks like if they come here. So, yeah, can it help? Sure it can.
We have Murray, and then right behind you, and then we'll come back to the left.
Murray Evans, Lawton Constitution. Coach, the Oklahoma City mayor yesterday posted a picture of himself with the Lincoln mayor and joked that she had brought the entire population of Lincoln with her. Do you expect that kind of crowd tomorrow? And how does a crowd like that at a site like this, it's neutral, give you an advantage?
Yeah, we've had a couple of these this year. The game up at the Pentagon against Oklahoma was very similar to this in a much smaller venue. But, what I saw here, and I saw it in the NBA in this arena, this is one of the great arenas in the league, just how loud it gets. And Oklahoma City Thunder's fans are as good as any, maybe the best in the entire NBA, just with how vocal they are. It's more of a college atmosphere with how they are here. So, I've seen it in the building. I never thought that it would be like that in a neutral site NCAA tournament game with how it was. And will it be the same tomorrow? I think there's going to be more Huskers here. Whether they'll all be in the building, I don't know, but I think they're going to take over. I saw one guy jumped in the canal last night. So, yeah, they took over, and it's almost like they didn't want the day to end, And it was fun to see all that stuff. Although I'm guessing he got in a little bit of trouble for doing that.
Back middle.
Brooke Pryor, ESPN. Fred, you mentioned last night that you were looking forward to talking with your dad, and you hoped that he had seen the game. Have you had a chance to catch up with him, and kind of what was that conversation
I
like?
did, yeah. I got a chance to talk to my dad. My mom, who's here, called him and got him on the phone in the home that he's staying in now. And yeah, he said he was able to watch most of the game, is what he said. And yeah, it was a special conversation. I won't say exactly, what we talked about, but he's really proud of everything. And when I look back on the with the press conference when he was there and how different things are for him now, it was emotional. Talking to my dad, and he's been there. Listen, you sacrifice so much as parents for your kids, and my dad did as much as anybody to help me get to where I got in this game as a player, and certainly been there as a coach. He's the guy out in the parking lot yelling at a ref for missing a call after the game. So yeah, it was a special moment for me.
We'll go left here.
Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska. Coach, Price Sanford, he's had to deal with tough man-to-man defense all season long, but he still set records for three-pointers for you guys. He still did what he did yesterday. How much better has he gotten at defending, or working around, I guess, defending, hitting threes still?
Yeah, he's just in constant movement and motion, and it's obviously we run a lot of things through him, and he and Rink that developed a really good chemistry. Our guys have figured out different actions to run based on where he is when we're coming down in transition. But he's just scored in so many ways. We've used him on the post as the year has gone on. We've put him in pick and roll situations. So yeah, he's handling contact a lot better right now as well, and he's understanding when when he's in the bonus when to draw that contact as well to get to the free throw line. But yeah, I just with the way that he was being not allowed with the freedom of movement. He's figured out different little things, to be able to free himself up. And, we've run him off different actions and at different angles for him coming off screens that I think has helped him.
I believe we have time for one more. We'll go to the back row there.
I just wanted to follow up. You mentioned talking to your dad, but also as a dad with your sons here and winning that first game. What does that mean to you as a dad to experience that with them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the twins, they're as fiery competitors as anybody I've ever seen. To the point where when I was on the road, I'll never forget this. I was on the road, and my wife called me crying because the twins had gotten in a fight with each other. They're on the same team, and Sam took a shot. Charlie didn't like it. And he went over and punched him, and they squared up. They were 5 years old, so that's just how they were growing up. So, to see Charlie in his first year in the program and have such a positive impact on Sam, I've said this a lot, he can get in Sam's head a heck of a lot better than I can, just with the whole twin telepathy thing. And, he's able to be there for him and, really be as supportive as anybody that he's going to ever be around. So, yeah, to be able to share that moment with these guys, I mean, you get so caught up in the coaching part of it that you really don't think about it. But, when that game was over, and all the emotions were flooding out, to be able to share that with those two guys has been great. Sam hopefully will play this game for a lot of years, and then he's smart. He wants to get into the broadcasting part of it, where Charlie, maybe not so smart, wants to coach. I've tried to talk my kids out of it. I got two of them now, Jack with the Spurs, and Charlie, wanting to get into it now in his, infancy stages of his career. But, it's their passion, and, I'm going to help them as much as I can to to help them get in a good spot, but to be able to share that moment with those guys was pretty awesome.
All right, thank you, Coach, very
Thanks.
much.
Yeah, thanks, guys.